Peter, how are you all doing? All well, good? Hi everyone, good morning, good morning, good morning. Hi Rishi, good morning. How are you all doing? All well? All right, let's start our today's session. So we meet again to discuss our today's newspaper, that is 5th of May, and we'll be discussing important news, all right, as usual, and we'll be solving a few questions also based on those same news, okay? So shall we start? Are you all ready? Yes? Yes, ready? Okay. Let's begin the session, and we have a few news because of the elections. You know that most of the paper is filled with election news, which we are not going to discuss again. But other than that, there are a few things that we need to discuss from the paper. All right, so we'll focus on that. All right. Good morning. Hi everyone. Good morning. Okay, okay. I hope you're doing good. Okay, so let's start. Are you all ready? Yes? All right, let's discuss our first news. This is from yesterday's paper that we needed to discuss. I was hoping there will be an update today, but since there's not, we'll discuss that already. Okay, so the news that we had is keeping India's carbon money at home. So what the article is trying to tell us is about a few major industries that are exporting in a large quantity towards Europe. Okay, some Indian industries like steel, copper, etc. are exporting on a large quantity to Europe and different European countries. Now what happens is India recently signed a free trade agreement. Are you aware of that? A very big scale free trade agreement. Yes, can you take a guess with whom did we sign this FTA? Yes, can you take a guess? With whom did we sign this FTA? A large scale FTA. Yes? EU. Okay, very nice. So based on this FTA, what happened is we've got a free trade agreement, but we've not got any compensation or, we've not got any consolation as to if there will be any exceptions made for India in the segment of CBAM. Okay. Now, what is CBAM? This whole concept of CBAM is like carbon border adjustment mechanism. Okay, try to understand that. Carbon border adjustment mechanism. Okay. Now, through this, what is done is through the border, like we are emitting carbon, okay, every industry is emitting carbon and every country is emitting carbon, and we have certain agendas and targets to meet regarding the emission of carbon. Based on that, every country needs to monitor the kind of carbon that enters into the country, right? Because while we are trying to control our carbon emissions, we are putting cap on the industries and we are trying to, fine up the industries or take taxes from the industries like environmental tax, etc. And at the same time, we're also importing a lot of products, and through that import, we have, like, let's say we import steel. Now the construction of steel done in the industry actually leads to a large scale carbon emission. So while you're importing steel, don't you think you're also importing carbon footprint? Right? We might also be adopting or importing carbon footprint along with that product. So what they're saying is that once any compound enters into our border, there we will adjust the prices for carbon emission. Okay, because we have environmental taxes, because we need to prevent such carbon emissions. So we will tax those products and will raise the prices of that. Okay, so what is happening is India is exporting them. Okay, India is exporting, let's say, to EU. Yeah, India is exporting, let's say, to EU. Okay, now if we are exporting a lot of products to Europe, what is happening is all our products are getting exported there because we have cheaper products. Naturally, if we are exporting something, others are also benefiting from it. The production within the country is very expensive. In Europe, the production within the countries is very expensive. So they import from India, which is far cheaper. But it is cheaper because we don't have the environmental cost added into it, right? Now, what they're saying is that whenever Indian products enter, like steel, etc., whatever will enter, once it enters into our body, we will be imposing environmental tax because it is increasing our carbon footprint. Now, if you impose carbon tax or if you impose environmental tax, will our products remain cheaper then? Do you think our products will remain cheaper then? Can we keep them on the same price? Can we keep them on the same level? No. No, right? Now, if we cannot keep them the same level, why would they import then? They're importing because this is cheaper. If we would say that we're going to raise the prices, we're going to put on some more taxes, that means you're just raising the price. And if you're raising the price, why would people want to import something that they can already get at their own place without importing at the same price? They were importing because it was cheaper. But with this prices, aren't you like affecting our export services? You are, right? So this brings us to GATT. Okay, this brings us to GATT, that is General Agreement on Trade and Tariffs. Okay, remember GATT, WTO, the precursor to WTO. Yes, in WTO also we have certain regulations that you cannot actually raise prices of the import just to benefit your indigenous communities, just to benefit your indigenous market, just to benefit your domestic market, because that would be unfair to the other countries. That is unfair trade practice. But what they're saying is we are putting environmental tax, we are not raising the prices, we're just putting a taxation that is necessary, because when any compound is entering into our border, we have to measure the carbon footprint. So they very smartly twisted the whole matter, saying that we are doing this to preserve environment. Now, who is to speak against that? Because everybody wants to preserve environment. Every organization wants every country to preserve environment, right? So this is the twist that has happened. Now, India has come up with the solution. We are saying that if you are going to impose CBAM, right? If you have come up with CBAM, we are going to come up with IBAM. The article suggests that India should come up with IBAM. What they're saying is, if they want to impose taxations, because we are not imposing taxations, then we can impose tax. See, the prices of the products are going to go up anyway. They're going to go high anyway. It is going to impact our export anyway, because they are going to do that. This has been final. But if we take it into IBAM, what we are doing is we will keep that taxation within our country, because right now our products are getting taxed and that tax is going to other country. What we can do is we can come up with IBAM that we will tax our products ourselves. It will have environmental cost listed into it. Just allow us to do that. Okay. When we do that, we can share the taxation with you in a percentage. If you want, we will we'll share the tax with you in a percentage, because the product is actually being used in your country, right? So we have to be reasonable about it. We cannot just say that we will impose all the taxes and we'll take the tax. That means the product has no cost anyway. That will be like negligible. But some of the taxation can be shared with them. That way the product's prices won't go very high, and plus the whole carbon footprint would be measured as well. Right? So this is what the article is suggesting, that India should come up with its own Indian border adjustment mechanism. Okay. Yeah. So this would be like Indian carbon border adjustment. We will have our own system. The taxations will remain in India, and the government will be able to benefit from that, and also will be able to control the prices of the product, because since we are imposing the tax, they cannot impose double tax on that. So when our product goes there, we'll share a part of taxation, and that part of taxation, let's say we are charging 100 rupees, okay? Let's say we're charging 100 rupees. So out of this, 70% can stay with India and 30% can go to EU. So if 30% is going there, that means the price is going to come to 130, right? It won't go to 200, it won't go to 150, it won't go to 170. That will impact our exports largely, right? So this is what the article is suggesting, that whatever carbon footprint there is, let's keep that in India. Let's keep the taxations in India. Let's keep that benefit in India if we are the ones producing it. Clear? Do you understand this? Is it clear? Is the article clear? Please tell me. Do you understand the issue, what is happening, what we are trying to do, what is CBAM and IBAM? Why have we come up with IBAM? What is the problem between the trade and how GATT is involved? Is everything clear? Please tell me. Yes? Yes? Okay. Perfect. So this is our article. Now, however, we have certain challenges obviously coming forward because we have to implement that, and then we have to get in touch with the EU as well. We have to get in touch with other countries as well, whoever are doing this to our products, and then naturally we'll have to come to an agreement for that, right? So nothing has been set in stone yet. We are just trying to find a solution to it. All right. Is that clear? Yeah. Okay, I've listed all the things that are being done under the proposed IBAM, etc. We are doing ring-fenced fundings, etc. Right, expanding our low-carbon electricity. We're trying to control carbon footprint anyway in India as well. So that is what the article is about. Is that clear? Yeah. Okay, let's move forward. With this, I have a mains question for you from this. The mains question is: analyze the strategic utility of an Indian border adjustment mechanism as a response to the EU CBAM. How can India use its free trade agreements to safeguard economic sovereignty while pursuing climate goals? All right. Yeah. Try to write this answer. Okay. Yeah. You'll find the answer in the content that you've just discussed, and you have a link in the comment section. There you can get the PDFs, and from there you can read the content and try to write the question. Okay. Yeah. You have a link to the Telegram channel, I think, in the comment section. There's a pinned comment, and that you'll see a link. There you can get all the PDFs of the classes. So just visit that, and from there you'll read it and you'll try to write. Okay. Yeah. All right, let's move forward to the next news. That is, Supreme Court brings survivors of forcible ingestion of acid under RPWD Act. Forcible ingestion. The question was raised that there are two kinds of acid attack. One is like somebody has splashed acid on the face, on the body, physically, externally. Okay. Other thing is that sometimes what they do is they ingest acid, like through injections or to put in the bloodstream or through the mouth forcefully, making them to drink it, right? Burning the internal organs or something like that. So if internal ingestion is involved, does that get covered under RPWD, right? Because if any person who has been attacked with acid, they are covered under Person with Disability Act. Okay, so a question was raised because the act specifically talked about acid attack, right, in terms of external physical attack. Nothing was said about internal attack. That's why a question was raised whether they would also be they would also be considered as an attack, and whether the people who have been attacked and survivors, would they be given reservations or would they be given representations under Person with Disability Act. Okay, so this question was raised. Now Supreme Court has very clearly specified that forceful ingestion is also a part of the same acid attack, and it has to be covered under RPWD, right? All the kinds of attacks are covered under here, and any kind of acid attack, and this is retrospective. This decision has been given in retrospection, and this is retrospective decision. Retrospective means that already we have an act, RPWD Act, and since the time of conception of this act, this will be applicable. So anyone in the previous years also has been in this condition will get the benefit of it, right? So this retrospective decision has been given, just a simple decision, that's all. And that's all you needed to know regarding prelims, because the statement can come that RPWD includes these people. The people with what kind of disabilities are included here, and a very simple prelims question, but yet again a very typical one it can become, a very tricky one it can become, because you'll have acid attack, but you'll have two kinds of acid attack, external and forceful ingestion. Then you'll get confused, what is forceful ingestion and how does it become a part of it, right? So all kinds of acid attacks have been included under this as a blanket by Supreme Court through this decision. Is that clear? Yes? Hello, good morning. I am of class 10th. Oh, but you just go and enjoy your life for now. Okay. Yeah, it's good that you have an aim so early in life. It's really good. But for now, you just need to have fun. That's all. Good morning, Rishabh. We're discussing current affairs, okay? Good morning, Divya. Oh, okay, Divya in Divya ma'am's class. Very nice. I like the symmetry of that. Okay, do you understand this? Yeah? All right. Moving on to the next news. The next news is that Supreme Court has recently quashed Odisha court for, giving odious bails. What kind of odious bails have been given? Like there is this Maharashtra and MP courts, high courts, you know that they give very funny, there was this person who was saying, India Murdabad or something like that. The person had, given out the slogans and was chanting the slogan. So the punishment he was given was by a high court. Punishment he was given was that you go to Delhi, you go to the Red Fort, you see the national flag and you salute it 100 times. You give the proper salute, that Dandavat one salute. So you do that, and this was his punishment. Right, he has to nothing. He just has to go in front of the national flag, and for a few days continuously, like for 21 days or something, every day he has to go and salute. Right. So these kinds of punishments have generally taken center stage. But in terms of Odisha High Court, this has become odious because what Odisha High Court had been doing, this has been done to at least more than 40 people. To more than 40 people, the punishment they had given for bail. Okay, the bail, like you give an amount that you pay 1,000 rupees and you'll get a bail. You pay 10,000 rupees, you get a bail. They're not being charged with money. They're not being charged with any activity. What they're being charged with is that if you clean the High Court for 100 days, you'll get a bail. You can get a bail if you keep coming and cleaning the High Court. The problem is that these kinds of punishments are being given to a certain kind of community, right? And that raises the question, and this has degraded the entire name of judiciary, and Supreme Court is very angry, and Supreme Court has just given a direction to all the high courts that you have to give me what kind of bails you're giving, because there is a legal procedure to everything. You cannot just come up with random bails that you think are funny or that you think are, something that you would like people to do. No, that's not how it works, right? Because what they're doing is they're giving Dalits, they're giving certain communities these cleaning work. That's like derogatory, because you're just accepting the, norm that has been set by the society that these people are just the cleaners, just the sanitary workers. No, you do not do that. It is not up to the state or the court to set a norm like that or set a trend like that, because you are to actually make the society believe differently. You are the ideal that society looks up to. If you are going to do this, people will get encouraged to treat them differently, to treat them like that, wouldn't they? Right? So Supreme Court has come up with an order that Odisha High Court needs to submit a report, like why they are doing this, what is their agenda, what is the motive and everything. They have to set up a report now. And all the other high courts have also been requested that you list out the activities that you do for bail. What all norms are you setting up, right? Which of those will be approved, that Supreme Court will see, and only those will be used for giving the bail. You cannot come up with random things like that, right? Is that good? Yeah, exactly. So 40 people almost have been given such kinds of punishments. They were being held captive under some mining case. Not important, but for now you just need to understand that what kind of bails can be issued, and if High Court is going above and beyond the power, Supreme Court can interfere. Supreme Court can tell High Court to follow your procedure, you follow your norms, and don't come up with such creative ideas that are actually derogatory to the society, right? Your work is to actually enhance the society, make it better, not to make it more derogatory, naturally, right? Exactly. So this was the news regarding this. Clear? Yes? Shall we move forward? Yes. All right. So will this bail be quashed? No, they've been asked to give a report. So based on that report, this will be decided whether the bail has to happen or not. Okay. Yeah. It is not about quashing the bail as such. It is about quashing the element of the bail, because the bail is given on behalf of something like money or community service. So this comes under community service, that's fine. But such punishments being given just to particular community, that is wrong. Community service is a part of bail. Like they give you rag picking and cleaning of things and saluting and all these things, that's fine. Community service is a part of bail, that is fine. But the problem is that you're giving this punishment, the cleaning punishment especially, to a particular community. That is not good. So for that, they've asked a report, and based on that, they'll decide. They've been given approximately 4 days, that within 4 days you submit a report, and then Supreme Court will decide what happens in this decision. Okay. Yeah. So it is not necessary it will get quashed. They will get the bail, but the element for the bail would be different. The token for the bail would be different. Okay. Yeah, exactly. All right. Moving on to the next news. So a very small part of it, I just want you to go through Model Code of Conduct. Okay. Because recently, as you must have seen on 18th of April, Prime Minister came up with a speech, right, where he mentioned 4 opposition parties, addressed to the women especially, gender-specific population of Tamil Nadu, etc. States, to punish these opposition parties for their role in not allowing the reservation bill to pass. All these things like that. You do remember the speech, right? At 8 p.m. He came live and he just went on regarding the situation and everything regarding the bill. So this has come into light that a lot of complaints have been raised to Election Commission regarding the, Model Code of Conduct, like what is happening, because since elections were announced, you had Model Code of Conduct, and could PM really use state resources, because obviously Model Code of Conduct doesn't allow the ruling party to use state resources like state personnel, state money, state platforms to come up with election agendas. But this was clearly an election agenda, and stages were used, money was used, everything was used of government, and this was done by the ruling party. So this is in violation of the Model Code of Conduct, and Election Commission should come up with the decision on that. Election Commission has not said anything on that yet, but this is being considered as a violation of Model Code of Conduct. But the problem is that there's a loophole. There's a loophole because in Model Code of Conduct, it is specifically said that you cannot target a particular community, religion. But they've talked about caste, they've talked about creed, but they have not mentioned gender, right? There are 5 things mentioned in Model Code of Conduct that you cannot address them particularly during the Model Code of Conduct, addressing people on the basis of religion, race, caste, community, right, place of birth. But gender has not been included there. The word gender is not there. There are 5 grounds, but gender word is not there. And this was an appeal to gender, the women, right? But however, it was still in violation because they mentioned opposition parties and specifically asked the people to punish them, right? So this has raised a question, but for you, what is important is very deeply, you need to understand Model Code of Conduct, okay? So just whenever you're reading your political science, whenever you're revising your political science, just pay special attention to Model Code of Conduct, pay special attention to election procedures, pay special attention to all that Representation of People's Act, right? Because that is where the legality of Model Code of Conduct comes from, right? Exactly. So this is what stands important here for you. Is that clear? Yeah? Yeah. So Model Code of Conduct, that is allowing, because when do we start the Model Code of Conduct? Tell me in the comment section, when do we start the Model Code of Conduct? It ends on the result day, that's fine. But when do we start it? Okay, how many days before? Like, is there a criteria? When do you announce Model Code of Conduct? Okay, it gets its power from Representation of People Act. It gets its power from Indian Penal Code as well. Election Commission is supposed to announce it. Election Commission is supposed to manage it. But when do they apply that? When do they apply that? When did they announce that? That is the question. Tell me the answer in the comment section and we'll move to our next news, that is OPEC exit, part of long-term plan. Okay, So you must have heard about the organization OPEC. Yes, OPEC and OPEC Plus. There are two organizations, OPEC and OPEC Plus, and both these organizations have been left 3 months before. Okay, so exactly 3 months before. Or is there a particular moment like this is when it will begin? So what is happening here is that UAE has departed. UAE has departed from OPEC and OPEC Plus. Okay, why they're saying that? See, OPEC is basically oil countries. Okay, in layman language, if we talk about OPEC, we talk about oil countries, all the countries that have large scale oil, large scale production, right? So OPEC was actually formed that oil contributions and oil management and everything between these countries, and OPEC Plus became OPEC members plus other 10 members. Okay, OPEC members plus other 10 members that are non-oil majority countries. Still they were included there because they are the importers, and if they are the importers, they also need to be brought into the decision, right? So they framed OPEC Plus separately. Now UAE has left both of them. Why? It is not because, they're trying to punish everybody because of the war conditions or no. They've come up with the statement that this is not because of the war, this is not because of anything. This is just that OPEC is putting a limit on us, right? OPEC is putting a limit. OPEC says that you cannot create, you cannot have a storage of oil as much as you want. They want to increase their capacity, but OPEC doesn't allow them because OPEC puts a bar on you as in how much of the capacity you can have, like nuclear bars are there, right? NPT is there. Similarly, there's an oil bar as well, right? Yeah. When the oil bar is where oil bar is set. Now, if you are setting an oil bar, that means that what we are doing is, we are basically saying that, okay, you cannot hold more than this. But if their capacity is more, why wouldn't they want to hold more, right? Yeah. So what they're doing is, they're saying that 3.4 million barrel. Okay. This is the bar. You cannot have more oil than this. You cannot consolidate more than this, but they want to extend this. So they have different guidelines and different setups that by 2027 we want to increase this bar, but if we are a member of OPEC, we won't be able to allow to do that. Okay, so UAE is saying that we want to go to 5 million, but this bar doesn't allow us to do that, and if it doesn't allow us to do that, that means we need to leave OPEC. That's why this is a long-term strategy for our own growth, for our own stability. Please don't consider this as a step against the rest of the nations or against the war or against whatever is happening. No, this is the long-term strategy for ourselves, because by 2027 we have different deadlines, and we want to go till 5 million because we have the capacity. Why would we limit our own capacity? But this raises the question, if like US can leave all the international organizations just like that, UAE can leave and do the productions as it wants, what relevance does international organization have anyway then? Right? So are they only relevant for developing nations? Are they only relevant for people who are actually just listening to their guidelines, listening to the rules and norms? Other countries just feel free to do whatever they want? And if that is the case, shouldn't developing nations be focusing more on their own development? Because you see climate deals, you see such restrictions and limitations being put on every other nation. That is just a method or a tool used by the developed nations to actually counter developing nations. Because you have done everything, you've done your development, and now you put barriers and you put limits on our developments, right? So developing nations have come together to think about it, and there's a possibility this will also be discussed at BRICS, because if developing nations have to come together and work on it, they need to really consider that developed nations are not giving any attention or heed to these organizations anymore, right? So we are trying to still be a part of it. We are still trying to work for, getting a membership, etc. While these nations are just randomly dropping out of these organizations because they're not able to fulfill their capacity. They're not able to fulfill their developments, the demands of their nation, right? So India also has to think, developing nations, other developing nations also have to think, what kind of relevance international organizations have today, and should we really go towards them, or should we come towards regional organizations, or should we go towards bilateral relations more, right? So this gives us a lot to think on our diplomacy, on our international agendas as well. Yeah, clear? Yeah. When the elections are announced, UA's stance is good, right? It is good. See, we are in a zone, in an arena where nobody is going to come and save us, right? While the war is happening, who is saving whom? Everybody is looking for their own interest. So if everybody is anyway going to look at their own interest at the end of the day, so do it. Why not? You don't have to wait for the war for that, right? You can do it beforehand. You can do it anytime. So this is good. This is giving developing nations a lesson, actually, that you should also think about yourself. Don't follow these norms set by developed nations just randomly, right? Because we are following that, so they're able to govern us more. They're able to suppress us more. So we have to consolidate and rethink our entire strategy. Clear? Yeah. Exactly. Clear? Okay, so we have OPEC and OPEC plus, just random thing, a little bit of difference between OPEC and OPEC plus, because OPEC is Organization for Petroleum Exporting Countries. OPEC plus, however, comes from OPEC plus 10 other countries, okay, OPEC partners. We had OPEC in Baghdad Conference, Baghdad Declaration 1960. Yeah, that's where we framed it. However, OPEC plus came in 2016, right? OPEC is intergovernmental organization. OPEC plus is informal. This is not a formal organization. This is just an additional one, right? OPEC sits in Vienna, Austria. OPEC plus uses Vienna, Austria when OPEC is not sitting, right? That is how informal it is. Okay. Now the primary good here is in OPEC is that they're coordinating and unifying petroleum policies, and in OPEC plus, they're just trying to create some stability among the OPEC countries itself, not doing a lot on its own. It is just that they wanted the voices of developing nations or voices of the partner countries, because OPEC is generally a group of countries that are, major oil producer countries of the world. Now, all of them have oil. Whom are they going to export? They're going to export to other countries. So they thought that, okay, let's bring those other countries into the segment as well, right? So let's bring them here too. Let's hear their voice as well. That is how we'll be able to create a better market. So that's why they included these 10 other nations as well. Okay. Yeah. So founding leaders of OPEC, just please remember that the founding leaders of OPEC, Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and Venezuela. That's it. Okay. Just remember this for prelims. It is very important. That's all. Yeah. Why does India not do something like this? Because we have more soft and hard power, See, India is playing on the diplomacies. India is playing on the diplomacies. It is not like we're not doing that. See, at this critical position also, where every nation is, getting into a bipolar structure over US and the whole Iran and conflict, UAE conflict, etc. But even during that, India somehow has managed to maintain, relations with everybody. So Indian diplomacy is going very well for now, but taking such a stance, such a strong stance, is something India is not prepared for, because the minute you do that, a lot of sanctions are going to come in, right? Like US reacted by raising up the tariffs. We preserved ourselves from that, but that was because we had a genuine cause. Now, if we just go and do about it just to prove that we are a don, no nation is going to come in support of that, right? So right now, India needs to focus on its own development, so that India has that stand that if sanctions come in, if exports are blocked down, we can survive, right? Our survival is necessary at the moment, right? So that is what we are doing, right? Yeah. Okay, so that was all. That was our paper for the day. Thank you so much for joining in. Based on today's news, we will solve a few questions tomorrow. Be prepared for that. Okay, you'll get the file in the comment section. You have a link there. You'll get the file. Okay, revise it, and we'll solve the questions tomorrow. Okay. All right. That's